You know, mixed reality games are always a make or break experience for me. Most I try are so gimmicky, it's just something that I'm picky about. But once in a while, there's a game that will shine out of the bunch, and I think that Little Critters falls in that category. But there are still some things that got on my nerve. Alright, let's get right into it. Ouch, get off my hand, you little bugger! No, no, no! Ah! There's so many! Little Critters is kind of like a tower defense game, but that's stretching it a little. You get waves of enemies who are looking to go straight at your base. Your main weapon is a slingshot attached to your hand and you have to shoot any enemies that you see. But that's not going to be enough since there's too much to handle on your own. That's when gadgets come into place. You'll get an extensive amount, and they're all very unique depending on the situation that you're thrown in. Personally, my bread and butter was the pie thrower. They do a great amount of damage to enemies, and even stun some of them. But then you can also use the Yeet-O-Matic, which is super useful to get dynamite bombers away from your base. And then for wall creatures, you can use your punching glove to squash them on the wall on the opposite direction. I could continue here, but just know that it's fun experimenting with all of them since they're all unique and serve different situations. One last thing to keep those buggers away from your orb is by squishing them, and it can be a pretty powerful tool. You just smack your hand on the floor or on the walls, and then destroys the creature right away. You can also clap your hands in the air to destroy flying enemies. Sometimes these can take 2 hits with your slingshot, but not when you squash them. Man, I was really into it. Sometimes you could see me on my knees smacking them on the floor. I even had to remove my wedding ring since I had to do it pretty hard. Oh, and those creatures sometimes will drop a green goo ball. These balls are your currency, so you have to throw them in your gadget maker, and then you can buy some more. Very easy to throw them in. As long as you make an effort gesture to aim at the machine, it'll go right in. So that's pretty much the gist of it for the core gameplay. Each level has 5 waves you have to complete before finishing the level. At the end of it all, you are shown stats, and depending on how well you did, you get a certain amount of stars. And I love that since it gave me a reason to go back to these levels and try again to see if I've improved. Now that the core gameplay is out of the way, there's still many cool things that the game has to offer. Mixed reality takes an important role here. It's really cool since you can scan your room and everything will react to all objects that you have. I wanted to test and see if it was possible to play with multiple rooms, but sadly MetaQuest don't allow that at the moment. I did manage to scan a room and a hallway, but the game did not do anything with the hallway. Of course, I had to try to play outside, and it was pretty cool, especially with the big environment. It was honestly my favorite space to play while testing multiple locations. One thing I have to say is that the smaller your location is, the harder it can get, since the critters have a shorter road to reach your base, so you have to act quickly. So I do recommend playing in the larger space that you have available. All of my footage here shows hand tracking, but you can play with controllers if you'd like. I just feel like it's more immersive with your hands since the gestures are more natural, and it works very well. As you can see here, precise aiming with the slingshot was no problem at all. I do have to mention though that some moment the slingshot didn't register, and those moments were frustrating. Again, I think that MetaQuest is to blame here and they might need to improve some hand gestures. You can also upgrade your slingshot. You'll have things like tomatoes where it can stun enemies, spike balls that does more damage, and a few other things that might match your playstyle better. You know, I have to mention that the game has some charm, something that I feel like all game needs, or else it might feel too robotic or emotionless/empty, if you know what I'm saying. You can kind of play around with the critters as you battle your way through the waves. I can grab them, throw them away, swipe them away from the base. Sometimes they'll even bite you and take a second to shake off. You can also grab one and use it for your slingshot. Just little things that make these pets feel more alive. Just a nice touch that I wanted to add. There's more things that you can do with them that I can't remember off the top of my head. There's also a nice sense of progression in there. Each time you complete a level, you get experience points. And when you have enough, you level up. Each time you do, you get a new gadget, new slingshot, or even upgrades for your existing gadgets. There's currently a total of 35 upgrades I believe, and I'm not sure if I made it to 30 yet, so I could still continue playing to unlock those last remaining ones. There are currently 8 levels in total, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it personally took me around 5 hours to complete them all. Some I had to retry, and some I wanted to redo for the 3 stars. As you can see here, the first 4 levels are green, and the bottom ones are purple. What's nice about this is that the green one are beasties, just regular critters that looks like little monsters. But then the purple one are cyborg critters, which have a new arsenal of abilities and other different things. I like this because it doesn't get repetitive or boring since these different colored levels are not similar. A good breath of fresh air when I switch to purple. One thing I want to note is that the developers do plan on support the game with updates. They confirmed to me that there are more levels in the works, so even if you finish the game, you can expect new levels later. So I did enjoy the game very much. Going through those levels was smooth and fun, until I reached the last level. I spent a total of 2 hours trying to beat those 5 waves. Man, the difficulty curve on this one was just too high compared to the other 7 levels for some reason. If I can guess why this happened, I think it's because going through the other 7 levels went pretty smoothly, so I didn't level up as much as the developers intended me to. Therefore, I didn't have the best arsenal to beat it. As soon as I unlocked the Zapper though, that's when things switched around, and I was able to beat level 8. It was pretty satisfying. At the end of it all, the experience was great. But when I look back at the amount of time I spent on that level, it was very frustrating, and I wish that I wasn't quote-unquote blocked as much as I was while waiting to level up more. I would have grinded the previous levels, but they were all 3 starred already except level 7, which I also had a little bit of difficulty with, but not as much. I'm sure this would unbalance the game, but the amount of gadget that you could place felt very restricted. I kind of wanted to experience more, or feel more powerful with the handful of gadget in my room, combine and experience more, but it felt like I could only have maybe 4 or 5 gadgets or less by the end of the level. It's hard to explain, but I just wanted more on there, to feel like a crazy battlefield or something. I always had the feeling of not having enough money after each wave. But anyway, just some small feedback on my end, not anything that breaks the game. And if someone asks me, I would very much recommend this game. It's a really fun time and very well made strategy mixed reality game. If you feel like walking around your room and exterminate some bugs, this is the one for you. It has a lot of charm, and a nice sense of direction while accomplishing exactly what I wanted when I first started it. I'm looking forward to seeing what they add to it in the future. Thanks for watching! Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed today's video. More reviews are coming soon, including a very big one coming out this year, so make sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out. Big thanks to my 2 YouTube members, Seb and Quitnump. You guys' support is really appreciated. Alright, I'm out, but I'll see you very soon. Bye!